Jessica Henry here. I am in Destin, Florida, and I'm excited to bring this video to you today. I am going to actually share with you a demo that I am doing here at the workshop. I'm set up on the beach, and there's an Air Force right around here, so you might hear some really interesting planes flying overhead or whatever, but that's just part of it. So on the other side of the camera here is this gorgeous tropical beach, and I'm going to turn the camera on and show you some of that. But off to this side are these white sand dunes, and I'm going to paint some of that and some of the ocean and get this gorgeous scene in for you today. And the main theme that I'm going to really be talking about today in plein air painting is to get away from being too literal. So we're going to take some artistic licenses today and also just talk a little bit more about mixing colors and how to do all of that. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you this stunning scene that I have to work from today. This is the beach in sunny Destin, Florida. It's famous for its white sand and turquoise waters. The sand is called sugar sand. Each little particle is like a teeny tiny marble, so it's really unique. Just how it is, how it feels under your feet, it's so fine. Okay, so before we get started on the video, I'm going to just introduce a little bit. This is some of the group of my workshop here in Destin, Florida. We're having a great time, and I hope you guys are too. Yeah, great. So anyway, I'm gonna turn the camera then to my canvas here, and then we'll just get going on that. I'm using all of my regular limited colors in the palette, and I will show you that right there. The only addition that I've added today is phthalo turquoise. There are some other colors on here because we were doing a little bit of a color demo, and so I'm not gonna use those. Certainly no use for cadmium red. Now that I say that and I'm looking at the red umbrella thinking, oh, maybe we'll put the red umbrella in, I will use cadmium red. So, all right, we are just waiting for a few more students to get up here, and then I'm going to start the demo. So we'll be right back. Okay, so what I have here in my sketch, if you can kind of see a little bit of the scene, I'll show you some of that. Going back that way. I'm going to take some of this beautiful water and a little bit of the sky, a little bit of the water, some of the shore, and then this grassy dune area in here. I'm going to sculpt out some of these hills. I'm going to leave some of the grass out. I want some of that white sand to be showing up in here. So allowing this white area to be not just down here in a swatch of triangle, but also bring it up into here and then also into the water. So it's kind of like that yin yang where it's a little here and a little here. Okay, so setting this aside, I'm gonna jump in and get going on this, make sure that I am centered there. Okay, all right, so I just have my paper towels here, and like I said, since I am filming for a workshop, everybody is here behind me and they're going to be asking questions and things throughout the video. Yay! So I'm not alone today. Plein air painting, I always feel like I'm the lonely guy out there. Okay, so what I've done, this is a 8x10 gessoed panel, and then I put, gosh, I don't even know what colors this was. It was on a used turpentine rag that had all these different colors. I think there were some just ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, basically everything that was on my palette. And then I just rubbed it off. Okay, so I am making a mixture here using a size 2 bristle brush, and I'm going to draw out that composition as I had drawn it on my sketchbook. The sky is kind of blah and mundane, so I'm not going to give very much attention to it. And I don't want the ocean just coming to a point right at the edge of the canvas. So I'm going to let that go off the edge that way. And then bringing the shore, now that shoreline is pretty much stick straight, but I want to make it look interesting. The further back I go, the less detailed it needs to be, so I can just let that be quiet. But as it comes down, you can alter the line a little bit to give it some interest. Now I want to make sure that I don't make my portions equal. That water is such a beautiful color blue, so maybe I want to give it a little bit more interest this way. All right, so that's all right. Okay, then these hills, I'm just gonna start, maybe we'll let it just start up there. I keep calling them hills, they're dunes. White sand dunes. Is that one of the things that Destin is famous for? The white sand?
Yes, oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Sugar sand. Now I'm kind of being literal with some of the structures of the dunes, but not entirely. I'm gonna just let it kind of be a little bit more exaggerated. I don't want to go too far. There is a red little beach tent I'll put over here. And then these are a little bit more vertical as they come closer to us. So I'm going to think about these piles of sand kind of living in this area here. Maybe we'll push that back that way. But you can see too, even by using just the turpentine or the Gamsol, moving paint around instead of with the pencil is a lot easier. In this part, it really doesn't matter what color you use to lay it in. It's just however you want to work it. Okay, so this is the white area where I see the waves and some of those lighter colors along the shore. Then I know that from here to here, I'm going to work with the beautiful colors of the water. Okay, so I think that that's pretty much where I need to go with my design and composition. So I'm going to switch to a slightly bigger brush now, a size 4. And starting with the background, now I no longer need to use the odorless mineral spirits. I'll just stick with a little bit of linseed oil, ultramarine blue. That sky is fairly dark today. I'm going to use a little bit of alizarin crimson. Maybe even some yellow ochre to tone that down a little bit. That's too much. Let's see what that's too dark. Okay, that's good. And I don't need a whole lot of paint on there. Oh, hope that stays up. And then to get a nice straight line, I'm just going to lock my finger on here and then with the tip of my brush just draw it across like that. It's not an exact science, but I don't like this paint box. It's not an exact science either.
That's what you mean by putting it in your hair when
you're... Yeah. Which one did I pick? Okay.
Yeah, I know how to put it.
Don't pull it out the wrong way. I've done that many, many times. Okay, so now just getting that horizon line, a little more ultramarine blue, a little more yellow ochre, and let's get some alizarin. I think I will grab a little of that sienna. And I'm just mixing it right into the pile that was with the sky. Every now and then I have to check this. Oh, my sky. Oh well. If you want to see how I did that, take the workshop. This is the raw, uncut version. What I like about this composition so far, we were talking earlier about the variety, when to use cool and warm. this sky is very purple in that little sphere, and so is the horizon line where that water just touches the sky. It's almost a deep amethyst lavender, and so that really has that really nice cool feeling of everything going way far back. What I'm noticing is that the sky over here had a little bit more white and hazy feeling, so I'm taking some yellow ochre and white, and I just wanted to add a little bit of that just to have some variation in the sky, because it was just one monotone note. So just putting a subtle change over here, maybe even a little more. Okay, and then so the ocean, it's coming out kind of right at the edge over there, but I want that a lot lighter because it's kind of all shrouded in ocean atmosphere and mist. And so when you're painting atmosphere, you have to keep your values very, very close, very subtle, and squint way down. But you can see how these values here now are there's just a subtle difference between ocean and water. And now I'm going to take just a little bit of white and yellow ochre, touch of sienna to paint those buildings in there. And I'll just adjust those. That's awesome. Is he going up and down?
Looks like it. Yep.
We're in the military video.
Yep.
We are. He's probably wondering what we're doing.
Yeah, we're on camera. They know our whole background information. I just didn't like how there was almost no difference. Just putting a little bit more sky next to the water because I could see too much canvas through there. Okay, all right, now I'm going to move through the water here down this way and get some of that more aquamarine color, turquoise, whatever. So using some phthalo green, adding a little bit to what I already have, and you can economize the use of your palette space by using what you already have done. So way over there, just gently scumbling in a slight layer of that. I got a little darker. So I'm just taking a little bit more ultramarine blue and phthalo green. There's a touch of burnt sienna that I happen to find on my palette that might work with that mixture. Just right in through here, because this blue comes down further a little bit than what I had. And I do wipe my brush off regularly to try not to contaminate. I try not to contaminate too much of what I'm doing by wiping my brush off regularly. A little bit of sienna neutralizes it, just a touch. I have this really beautiful color, and then as it comes down, there's sort of this grayer patch of blue, just a slight bit different right in here. But I'll come back to that bright, beautiful color. And I'm getting that mixing on the palette. take a touch of cadmium yellow, because there are places in here where it is a little bit springier green. Keeping brush strokes horizontal also will give you that feeling of it being the ocean. Oh, too dark. Any questions so far? Okay.
So why are you going up and down sometimes and then going over?
Just to get the paint kind of on the canvas a little bit more. It seems like sometimes if I just go like this, it's hard to get it off the brush, but if I go like this, it seems to come off better. Okay, so now I'm going to squint down and just start to get a little lighter layer where I see it kind of blending into the sand. Just a little bit of yellow ochre into that. Oops. I'll come back through with more information for the waves after I get this part established. But this is the color that I see under the waves, because I'm going to put the white of the waves on top of this. A little bit of phthalo turquoise. Some yellow, cad yellow. All right. I always save detail towards the end, and in this case, that would be more of the waves and stuff. So for now, you always go from general to specific. So for now, I'm just gonna go back a little bit and get some more of the sand as I'm working my way through this, through this painting. I'm coming up now this way. That should be a little darker. I'm going to take some alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. Just a touch of sienna will give you the look, in this case, of a little bit more wet sand. Not all wet sand has the same color of purple, so you just have to sort of gauge. I'm noticing in some of this wet sand some reflection of the water that has sort of a bright green glow. And as I go further off into the distance, just lightening that purple just a little bit. Now in nature here, it's really pretty much a straight line, so I'm adjusting it to make a more interesting painting. And for that, you can just decide, you can take that artistic license, what looks pretty to you, what you don't want it to be too curvy or too out of place that it doesn't make any sense, but at the same time, you can decide. Okay, so now I'm going to work on just getting some of this white in place for the sand, and then I'll come back through with the greens. So I got some turquoise in there. A little yellow ochre. That's a good shadow color for the sand. Maybe I'll put that down here. By the water. A little bit more sienna. Okay. back through now and get that white. White's a tough one to paint because there's so much white and so little. What do I do? But there are some value changes, some really subtle shifts in here. And I just want to paint it just the slightest bit different back there. Trying to keep it cool without being purple, and that looks like a really light purple to me. So I'm going to add a little bit more ochre to that. That looks better. Put that right over the top of what I did. And also I'm going to lose a lot of these edges back here because I don't want clarity. Everything that comes nearer to us is going to have more sharp edges, more color, more value differences. And then everything far away has less intensity, less vibrant contrast. So this napkin's getting gross. I call them napkins, I guess they're paper towels. Okay. Maybe I'm going to add just a touch of ultramarine blue. A little bit more ochre into that. So again, keeping these brush strokes horizontal, that'll help with that feeling of that flat area. That'll give a nice contrast to this area. Now, remember I said how everything towards us gets warmer? So I'll add a little bit of the cadmium yellow and yellow ochre to the sand, and it will help that illusion of near and far. I think that should be a little cooler. This could be warmer. Okay, now I'm going to scumble or loosely apply the paint where I see it going up the sand dunes. I can always make it a little bit thicker, but for now this is just going to kind of help me isolate everywhere where I want these clumps of grasses to live. Add a little bit of variety here with some of these brush strokes too, to really give that illusion of this sand is closer to us, so it's going to have more footprints and texture. That way. All right, now we were talking about greens earlier, so I'm going to just demonstrate some of these greens in here. Far away greens have a cooler, softer feeling, so I'm going to take that up a little bit, and that's the limit of my palette. Okay, so a little bit lighter. I still want some yellow ochre, but using more of that phthalo green and white mixture. What does that give us? Nope, we need a little more sienna and ochre. So now, less of nature and more of what looks good is just kind of how I'm going to work through this part of the painting. As I come closer, I'm going to make it a little darker and a little richer. Always thinking about the contour of these dunes and how they lay like that. Yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, a little bit of cadmium, And I'm noticing some of these grasses in here are quite a bit yellower. So I don't want to lose the integrity of some of the other colors of greens that I have in there. So I'm just laying a piece of paint down and not fussing with it. Just lay it down. And if you don't like a color, you saw up here I laid a color down, didn't like it, put another color over the top. If it's thin enough, you don't have to continually scrape and repaint.
Which is thin enough, the base of it or the paint that you're applying?
Just the paint that you're applying. She said, what is thinner, the base or the paint that you're applying? So like the foundational layer of paint? So these brush strokes that I'm doing here are just for defining some of the shape of this dune as it comes down. But you have to be very careful not to stair step, which I'm getting close to doing. When you have a passage with a lot of green, you can mix up the values and shade a little bit by making some areas warmer with more ochre and sienna, and some places cooler with more blues in the shadow. So I'll make these darker now as they're coming right at us here. Sometimes I just let the paint swirl together on the canvas. You don't have to mix everything up really thoroughly. So a little bit more of this yellow, cadmium yellow, in these grasses will give that nearness to all these that I'm looking for. I'm going to just wipe my brush off and let some of those. Keeping a dry brush, you can flick those beach grasses up like that and give that illusion that the wind is blowing those. But before I get too far into that, I just want to go back with a little bit of white in here. Just to paint some of those areas just a little bit thicker. Okay, back to flicking. It's one of those areas where you can get carried away. So just select a few places where it's going to work, and just let the rest go. You don't need a whole bunch. So now I'm just going to add a few little beach things. I could do that fence, but I think what I'm going to do is take the rest of the time and work on the waves a little bit. Okay, so deciding where those most important waves are going to be, I just want to map out, making my brush a fine chisel. You can go in the paint this way, turn it over, go this way, and it'll give you a little bit sharper edge. So I'm going to just suggest some of those, and you can scoop the paint back up like this. And you just gently, just sort of skitter that across. And then there's more aggressive waves down here. And then as it goes further back, we'll just let that sit. I don't want thick paint back there. So just gently lay that down. Smaller lines. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of cadmium yellow, a touch of phthalo green, just to suggest some of these waves are cresting and we're getting that really pretty color as it lifts. Putting some of that in the purple a little bit. Oh, the red umbrella. We're waiting for the red umbrella. Oh.
We have to have that.
I'm yes. Okay. I did. Okay. So cadmium red. Let's find a spot. I was gonna say no, I didn't bring a painting umbrella. Okay, a little bit of alizarin to tone it down a little bit. Let's decide it's gonna be.
As Bob Ross says, you make a big decision.
Let's. Oh yeah. Let's. Where does it live in this little? I'm gonna make up a nice little story about this family. What rated is my channel? I don't remember. Gonna live right here. Yes. I'm using some alizarin in that to get the shadowed side. This is a size 1 synthetic flat. Because I could get a little tiny chiseled edge. I don't see the legs of that, so I'm not going to paint them, but I am going to paint a shadow. Let's throw in some people too. This is where having some extra coffee is kind of an advantage. I guess those are people.
I see people.
I think that we need at least one more umbrella. So, see what you started?
You just thought you were finished.
Yeah, right. I'm taking someone's liquid that's on my palette.
You wanted questions?
What color do we like for umbrellas? White and blue. Everything's white and blue. Well, you know, there was a... Well, let's do a pink one. I don't know. I've got some of this magenta still. Yeah. little darker pink.
The suggestions.
Yeah, it's powerful. I would be giving myself permission not to find it.
How would you would have done both?
I wouldn't at all because I don't show up that much. I will because I know that
That's the thing is,
it's an issue.
yeah, logically we understand that it has to have those, but physically you don't see it. I think we should put that flag in too. I wanted to do these red flags, something with this red flag, and just call it Riptide.
There you go.
Yeah. Hmm? Oh,
There's people coming around. Yeah, it's just the rest of us. Sorry, guys.
that's all right.
Also, the edge you'll see
So now the little bit that having people in there does, it just adds so much energy and life. I think once you put even a bird in the sky, all of a sudden you have a beating heart
Right.
in a landscape, and it changes everything.
I was thinking of Jaws.
Yeah, right.
Sharks. They
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, let's put Jaws.
All right. Well, I think that works. All right. Well, thank you guys. That was awesome. Oh. All right, well that wraps up this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this from sunny Destin, Florida, and I will see you next week from back in Ohio. All right, you guys, thanks so much, and don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great week. Bye-bye.